Hi there. Tell me in the comments which country and city you're from. I'm going to have to let you go, Avery. Effective immediately. That was the first thing out of her mouth. No hello, no acknowledgement, not even the courtesy of looking up from the tablet she was tapping like she was closing an app instead of cutting loose a human being. The words landed flat, rehearsed, stripped of anything resembling respect. My name is Avery Langston. I'm 53 years old, a former military logistics officer. And until about 3 minutes ago, I was the majority owner and co-founder of Pinnacle Supply Solutions. Now I was standing in a glass-walled executive office being dismissed by a 26-year-old CEO with a face full of Botox and a vocabulary borrowed from leadership podcasts. Celia Harrington didn't raise her eyes. She lounged in an Italian leather chair that probably cost more than my first car. Legs crossed like this was a casual check-in, not a coup. Her manicured finger scrolled as she muttered about restructuring and dynamic leadership like those words explained everything. Behind her stood Jasmine from HR, barely out of college, shoulders rigid, shifting her weight like her conscience was trying to escape through her shoes. She knew this was wrong, she just didn't have the spine to stop it. Dynamic leadership team, I repeated evenly. Meaning your college roommate and your cousin from that influencer agency in LA. Celia let out a tired sigh, the kind people use when they think they're dealing with someone slow. We need forward thinkers, Avery. People who resonate with modern clients. It's not personal, it's business evolution. That was rich, coming from the daughter of William Harrington, my former partner. 30 years earlier, William and I started Pinnacle with a rented shipping container and 2 laptops that overheated if you ran spreadsheets too long. Celia had never shipped anything heavier than a ring light. Her idea of evolution was a new espresso machine and a neon sign marketed as a wellness initiative. I scanned her office, brushed gold fixtures, abstract art, the glowing slogan behind her desk reading "Be bold or be silent." I'd approved the invoices for every piece in that room. William paid for it all before he retired. Sliding his daughter into the CEO seat like this was an inheritance, not an operation. Do you have written authorization from the board? I asked calmly. Celia finally looked up, lips curling into a smug half-smile. I'm the CEO, Avery. I don't need permission to make staffing decisions. You do when it involves a founding officer. Check the bylaws. Article 7. Her smile sharpened. Take it up with legal. I intend to, I said, already pulling out my phone. You may want to give your father a heads up about this afternoon's board meeting. I walked out before she could reply. I stepped into the elevator and hit the garage button like I was pressing a detonator. By the time the doors slid shut, my hotspot was live. 3 levels down, I climbed into my Honda Pilot, slammed the door, and balanced my laptop on the console. The moment the screen lit up, I clicked send. The board packet went out in full. 62 pages. Attachments included ownership breakdowns, stock conversions, amendments dating back to 1996. My name sat at the top of every document like a quiet watermark. 83%. That was my number. Accumulated patiently over decades, while William played founder figurehead, shaking hands and giving speeches. I handled supply chains through typhoons and strikes. He handled golf tournaments and holiday cards, and now his daughter thought she could erase me with one sentence. The final page of the packet was the kill switch, Article 7. I'd written it myself 6 years earlier during Midwest expansion. William hadn't bothered to read the revisions, probably busy planning Aspen. The clause was airtight. Any termination of a founding officer without full board authorization triggered immediate executive suspension pending review. All 9 original board members' signatures sealed it, including William's. I watched delivery confirmations turn green one by one. Countdown started. I leaned back and exhaled slowly. Not relief, just confirmation. She'd made her move, and I'd already planned for it. That wasn't luck, that was discipline. The same mindset that kept convoys alive under pressure. I remembered the day William told me he was retiring. 11 months earlier, same office, same glass walls. He smiled like he was sharing good news. You've earned a break, Avery. Let someone fresh take over. I asked who. Celia, he said like it was obvious. She's got vision, energy, social media sense. She's 25, William. Has she managed anything real? He laughed it off. Don't underestimate her. You'll guide her. That's when I knew he didn't understand. Not the stock conversions, not the voting rights he'd signed away without reading. He still thought we were equals. I could have corrected him. Instead, I nodded and walked out, already anticipating the fallout. I'd watched Celia bluff through meetings, burn money on brand activations, mistake interns for consultants. I gave her a year. She didn't last 12 months. My phone buzzed. Leonard Ashcraft, my attorney. Packets clean, no holes, binding. Then the board has to act. I closed the laptop, hands steady. Training teaches composure. Life teaches ruthlessness. Celia thought she cut me off. All she did was open the door. Leonard called again. That packet's a hammer. You've got the votes. Clause triggers suspension. No wiggle room. Good, I said. Then another call lit up. William, his voice was tight. Tell me this is a misunderstanding. It's not. It's a response to an illegal termination. Read the bylaws. Since when do you own 83%? We were partners, were. Since the 2004 buyback you didn't notice. Silence. Paper shuffling. 30 years unraveling. You should have told me. I tried. You didn't listen. She's my daughter. She didn't know. Then she had no business firing anyone. Especially not me. Another call came through. Her, are you serious right now? You breached protocol. No, you did. Article 7. You'd know if you read anything. I am the CEO. You're bitter. This is procedure. I prepared for this the day you walked in wearing heels worth more than our toner budget. You don't have the power you think. I'll fight this. Your lawyers already have the documents. Click. Every board member had read the packet. The clock flipped. 48 minutes. I put the car in drive. I pulled back into the Pinnacle lot at exactly 1:27. Same space. Same building. Different energy. Tommy at security stood straighter. Didn't ask for my badge, just nodded. Inside, the receptionist stood up. Miss Langston, welcome back. The board's expecting you on level 6. I didn't smile. I nodded once and kept walking. The elevator doors closed and I caught my reflection in the metal. Sharp suit. Calm eyes. The same look I wore in uniform walking into logistics briefings. 3 countries deep into supply chain nightmares. The ride up was quiet, but the tension rode with me. Not nerves, focus. Every second ticking down to the moment when all the power Celia thought she had was about to collapse under her. When the doors opened on 6, I stepped into familiar territory. Hallway floors. I helped choose lighting upgrades. I budgeted artwork that took 3 procurement meetings to get approved. And then there were the photos lining the wall from the elevator to the boardroom. 20 years of milestones, ribbon cutings, warehouse launches, disaster response shipments, William and I in most of them, shoulder to shoulder. Me and a blazer and clipboard. Him holding the giant scissors. There was one from 08. Us standing on top of a forklift at the San Antonio Distribution Center. My face sunburned, his tie blown sideways in the wind. I paused in front of it for half a second. The caption read, "Founders leading the way." The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. Ahead, I saw 2 junior staffers whispering near the glass conference room. They stopped when they saw me, eyes widening. Neither said anything, but their silence said enough. They knew earned authority doesn't need announcements. I walked past them without breaking stride. Outside the boardroom, the door was cracked open. I could already hear voices inside, papers rustling, chairs shifting. One more second. I adjusted the cuff of my blazer, smoothed my hand down the front, and stepped through the door. The moment I stepped into the boardroom, the noise stopped. 8 pairs of eyes turned. Some surprised, some cautious. One pair, Celia's, was already rolling. She was in my chair, or technically the CEO's chair. Wide leather, high back, center of the room. She sat there like a queen on a throne, flanked by 2 attorneys who looked like they charged by the minute just to breathe. William was at the far end, shoulders hunched, face pale. His tie wasn't even straight. I didn't look at him. I didn't need to. I walked straight to the end of the table, set my leather folder down, and flipped it open. Per Article 7 of Pinnacle Supply's bylaws, I said clearly, "This is a formal invocation of emergency shareholder review." The packet was sent and received. I'm here to enforce it. No one moved. Then Judge Heron, our board chair, white hair and slow hands, adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. "I've reviewed the document," he said. "It is complete, confirmed by legal counsel. Miss Langston holds controlling ownership. The emergency protocol is valid." Celia leaned forward. With all due respect, Judge Heron, this is a hostile stunt. She's weaponizing technicalities because she's angry. The judge didn't even flinch. The legality isn't in question. Whether you agree with the clause or not, it's binding. She's been bitter since I took the position. Celia snapped, looking around the room like she was searching for someone to back her up. This is personal. I stayed standing, hands flat on the folder. This isn't personal, I said. It's procedural. You violated the bylaws. You terminated a founding officer without board approval. That triggers a suspension of the CEO. Immediate, automatic, and enforceable. That's not me making a power grab. That's you not reading your job description. You're twisting legacy policies to sabotage progress, she said, voice sharp. Now, this company needs new leadership, not someone clinging to the past. William shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting from me to her. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Judge Harland leaned back. Miss Harrington, we're not here to evaluate leadership style. We're here to review the process of the termination and whether it complied with corporate governance. Right now, all evidence shows it did not. Celia turned to her lawyers. They stayed still. One flipped through the packet again, eyes moving fast, lips tight. No pushback, no protest. They knew. This is absurd, she muttered. My father co-founded this company. He built it. I was appointed by him. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. And I built it beside him. While you were still in braces, I was coordinating disaster relief shipments from overseas. I managed our first national vendor rollout. You walked in here with a last name and a resume your dad edited for you. She stood up like that might make her argument taller. You're intimidated by my vision. That's what this is. I was modernizing this place by firing your majority shareholder. I said without legal review, that's not modernization. That's negligence. The room fell quiet. William finally spoke. I didn't know she didn't read the bylaws, he said quietly. I thought she'd learn by doing. Judge Harland turned toward him. This is precisely why we don't hand over executive authority without full board consideration. I slid the signed copy of the Article 7 document across the table. This is official. We proceed to review. Until then, she's suspended. Celia's jaw clenched so tight her teeth could have cracked glass. Her hands balled into fists at her sides. But she didn't sit back down, and her lawyers didn't stop me. She knew this wasn't a debate anymore. It was a reckoning. Judge Harland looked around the table, then tapped his pen once. Let's move to vote. Celia crossed her arms. There's nothing to vote on. I made a management decision. You made a violation. Harlan cut in. And under corporate bylaws, violations carry consequences. Now sit down or remove yourself from the room. She stayed standing, lips pressed tight. Her attorneys didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even look up. The board secretary passed around printed ballots, each one numbered and initialed. No electronic vote, no shortcuts. Everyone knew what this moment was. I watched them, each member taking the paper, checking the boxes, calm, deliberate. Some glanced at me. One, Mr. Sullivan from Boston, gave the smallest nod before folding his ballot and sliding it back. Celia paced behind her chair like a caged animal. This is ridiculous, she muttered. You're letting her hijack the company. Miss Langston owns the company, Harlan said flatly. 83%, you're fortunate we're even having a vote at all. William's hands trembled slightly as he wrote. He looked at me once, eyes raw, face pale, and then back at his ballot. He didn't speak. They collected the papers, counted at the table, one by one, unfolded, each marked the same way. Harlan didn't even blink when he finished. Unanimous vote. Termination of Miss Avery Langston is reversed. Reinstated effective immediately. I didn't react, didn't smile, didn't move. I just nodded once and kept my eyes on Celia. She stepped forward, voice high. This is a coup. You all know it. She's just mad she got replaced. It's not a coup if it's constitutional, I said. It's called accountability. You think this is going to fix things? You think vendors and partners won't ask questions when this hits the press? Harlan held up his hand. There is a second matter, Celia blinked. What second matter? The board has concerns regarding your continued suitability as CEO. His voice was calm but final. Reckless action, violation of corporate protocol, attempting to terminate a founding officer without due process. All of that raises serious doubts. Her eyes flicked to her legal team. They didn't say a word. No, absolutely not, she snapped. My father handed me this company. That's not how companies work, I said. You don't inherit them like heirloom jewelry. She stepped back, eyes darting between board members. Now, this is a mistake. You're all making a huge mistake. Sullivan leaned forward. Celia, what you did this morning showed zero understanding of leadership. You acted alone, without legal counsel, without checking ownership structure. That's not a mistake, that's negligence. William finally spoke, his voice low and broken. She wasn't ready. I thought she could grow into it. No one learns leadership by skipping the hard parts, I said, and you don't get to learn on a company this size. Celia shook her head, almost laughing. So what now? You all just back her like nothing happened. No, I said, standing straighter. They back the bylaws and they back competence. Judge Harland tapped his pen again. We'll hold a formal vote on CEO status next. Celia stared at the table, then grabbed her phone, shoved it into her purse, and stormed out of the room without another word. Her lawyers followed silently. Not one of them looked back. As the door slammed behind Celia, the silence she left behind was louder than anything she'd shouted. Judge Harland turned back to the table. We'll proceed with nominations for interim CEO. I didn't wait. I stood and looked every board member in the eye. I formally nominate myself. No hesitation, no pageantry. Sullivan nodded, seconded. Ballots were passed again. Less ceremony this time. The vote was swift, unanimous. Heron closed the file, effective immediately. Avery Langston is reinstated and appointed CEO of Pinnacle Supply Solutions. I nodded once. No smile, just purpose. I walked out of the boardroom straight to the executive suite. The air in the hallway was stiff, tense. People had heard something. Phones were down, heads turned, conversations froze mid-sentence as I passed. At the reception desk outside the CEO office, Jasmine stood like a deer in headlights. Is she still in there? I asked. She nodded. She locked the door. Get security. 5 minutes later, 2 uniformed men stood beside me while one knocked firmly. Miss Harrington, you need to vacate the office. There was a pause, then noise, drawers slamming, something hitting the floor. The door cracked open. Celia's face was blotchy, eyes red. This is embarrassing, she snapped. You're humiliating me. No, I said, you did that to yourself. She tried to shove past me, but one guard stepped in front of her. You'll be escorted out. He said, you can send someone to collect your personal items later. Her jaw dropped. You're actually kicking me out like I'm some intern. You're being treated like any executive removed by board vote. I said nothing more, nothing less. She looked at me, desperate for one last win. You think this makes you better than me? No, I said. It makes me the CEO. She scoffed and turned down the hall, heels slamming with every step. Jasmine followed behind her, clutching a tote bag full of tangled chargers and half-folded blazers. I stepped into the office. The air smelled like overpriced perfume and chaos. Her vision board was still taped above the desk. Pictures of celebrities, tech bros, and some quote about domination in hot pink font. I peeled it down and tossed it in the trash. The chair was warm. I sat. It wasn't pride. It wasn't relief. It was closure. Not just on her, but on the years I'd spent watching someone else play leader while I did the real work. William appeared in the doorway a few minutes later. He looked older than he had this morning. Shoulders lower, eyes tired. I never should have put her in that seat, he said quietly. You thought she'd grow into it, I replied. She didn't, he nodded. I let her carry my name. You carried the company. We stood in silence a beat longer. No apology, just the truth between us. I won't interfere, he said. It's yours now. Always was, I said. He left without another word. I turned to the monitor, opened the dashboard, and pulled up the week's supply reports. Back to business. By the next morning, the panic had already started to wear off. I didn't call an emergency town hall. I didn't post some dramatic memo about new chapters or vision resets. I just got to work. The first thing I did was sit down with department heads. No fluff, just numbers, status reports, and bottlenecks. I asked real questions, took real notes, and gave clear answers. Nobody left confused. Nobody left guessing. I made one thing clear in every conversation. The job doesn't change. The name on the office door did, but the mission didn't. There were nods, some relieved, some surprised. They'd lived through Celia's mood swings and marketing stunts. They remembered when she froze vendor payments over branding conflicts and called it innovation. That was over. The logistics team got their approvals without a fight. Procurement finally had the green light to replace the failing warehouse software Celia had called too old school. HR pulled back 2 open roles that had been posted for Celia's digital vision team. Whatever the hell that was supposed to be. I didn't need to announce control. I just moved like I had it. By Wednesday, our regional partners were already calling back, thanking us for prompt updates. Clients that had gone cold over the last few months, tired of being ghosted or misqued, were suddenly responsive again. I had my weekly ops report open when Leonard called. Systems look steady, he said. Any blowback? No. People just wanted things to stop being chaotic. That's it. He laughed lightly. Funny how fast everyone forgets a CEO when they weren't doing anything in the first place. I didn't laugh, he wasn't wrong. But I wasn't here to gloat. Every night I stayed late. Not for show, not for optics, just to monitor the details. I checked every client dashboard, reviewed every open ticket. I didn't want applause. I wanted control, clean, competent control. I passed Jasmine in the hall once. She paused, then said, "It feels different around here." I looked at her because it is. By Friday, we had 0 delayed shipments. First time in 5 months. Celia had called herself a disruptor. What she really did was disrupt trust internally, externally, all of it. That's the difference. I didn't need to be flashy. I needed to be consistent. And now the company was moving again, quietly, efficiently, just how it was built to run. 2 weeks later, someone forwarded me a press release. Celia had taken a strategic innovation consultant role at a lifestyle startup in Seattle. The headline dressed it up, but the title meant she'd be sitting in a glass box while someone else made the real calls. A soft landing, just not here. I closed the tab without reading the rest. That same morning, we signed a 7-year contract with an international logistics client. Huge. The kind of deal Celia had chased with influencer dinners and LinkedIn buzzwords. We got it because our reliability metrics beat everyone else's. No champagne toast, no press release, just a signed document and another truck leaving the dock on time. I drafted a short note to the team. Nothing flowery, just straight to the point. Team, thank you for staying focused through recent changes. This contract is a direct result of your consistency and professionalism. Let's keep doing what we do best. Avery, I sent it out, then got back to work. Later that day, I stood in the hallway outside the operations floor, watching the loading schedule rotate across the monitors. Forklifts moved in rhythm below. Phones rang, people typed, vendors checked in. Normal, steady, boring, and that's exactly how I wanted it. Leadership wasn't about hype. It wasn't about charisma or designer chairs or how many startup guys you followed on social media. It was about knowing when to speak and when to shut up. About reading a bad quarter before it showed up on a chart. About catching a delay in Tulsa before it hit the East Coast. It was about discipline, patience, preparation. Celia had been given the title and thought that was the prize. But the real prize was understanding the weight behind it. I didn't win because I was louder. I won because I was ready, years ahead of her. You can't fake authority. You earn it every shipment, every vendor call. Every year you keep the engine running when no one else knows how. The office was quiet by 6. I walked back to the CEO suite, sat down, and opened the next day's reports. No spotlight, no applause, just a job that still needed doing. And this time, no one standing in the way of doing it right.